Hi, everyone, and welcome to Sistership Circle Inspiration. Today, we're going to be talking about self-care, which is week 4 of Sistership Circle. And before we dive into this topic, I really want us to be mindful of the embodiment of when we really think about self-care and self-love um, and just honoring ourselves as women. How can we, right now in this moment, be practicing that? And so before we even dive into this interview today and this chat that we're going to have, just take a moment to just close your eyes for a moment and putting your hand on your heart and allowing yourself to just come into the space of wherever you are. A lot of times we listen to these interviews and we've got other, window browsers open and we're doing a million things and we're multitasking. And so just put all that aside for a moment and just connect with your breath. Connect with your heart. Connect with the warmth of your own body. And then opening your eyes, welcome to our Goddess Temple, where we're going to be diving into self-care. And before I introduce one of my favorite feminine leaders out there, I want to read you a little piece from my book, Open Your Heart, How to Be a New Generation Feminine Leader. And so this is all on self-care. Wake up to your own energy source. Wake up to your own vitality. Wake up to your own body's needs. From this place of self-centered, grounded, conscious relationship to ourselves, we can then interact with the world and sustain the world from embodiment instead of a bunch of talking heads. I'm saying yes to me today, saying yes to self-care, well-being, and filling my cup so I can give from a place of freedom and joy. Saying yes to my heart's desire. I can't be of service to anyone, including myself, if I'm burned out, depleted, exhausted, contracted, and an emotional mess. Time to recharge the batteries. Time to fall back in love with myself and radiate that love to others. So this feels like such a perfect topic today. Is in real time is the second day after the winter solstice. And this is a time for us to go inward and reflect and really nurture and take care of ourselves instead of getting caught up in the holiday madness. And when I think about leadership, I want to come from that place of embodiment. I want to come from that place of having my cup filled. And so I invited someone really special to talk with us today, LiYana Silver, who is truly walking the walk and teaching women about embodiment and how to really take care of yourself and locate your yes in your body. Get really connected to your body so that you can be the feminine leader who you know yourself to be. And so I am going to have LiYana tell us a little bit about herself and introduce herself before we dive into this topic and get you all juiced up and inspired by her. And I'm really excited. So welcome, LiYana. I'm really excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. Really great to be here. I love every circle of women that you gather, and humans. Yeah, thank you. Good grief. Thank you for that little bit of introduction. As you were reading from your book, which congratulations, I know that was your first baby, and it sounds so beautiful, a beautiful passage. I was thinking as you were reading that this is a very important topic that I have the honor to speak on, of self-care, and I feel like there's a point to articulate before we, which you have started us on. You started on a path that self-care is not about the actions you do necessarily. It's not about whether you choose to take a bath or get stressed out and do part of your to-do list. Those are important. So your actions, or how you care for yourself, is important, but I feel like what I really want to land, before I say anything more about me, is why would we want to take care of ourselves? And then I really want us to get this self, that there is a creative power or your soul's voice or something that is like really divine inspiration that is asking to come through you and live as you. And whether that is a business or a message or the way that you mother or the way that you parent or the way that you lead in your community or are with your family or your own experience of your life, but there is something very powerful, very needed in the world that's coming through you, that is coming through you as your voice and is coming through not in spite of your body, but as your body. And so I just really want us to land why we want to be so richly embodied is because you really want to get your power source. You want to get that you are this power source and you want to care for it. And you want it to be like an amazing channel. You want to be the temple, right? That this incredible message can come through. And then on top of that, fantastic massages, etc. Hold on a second. Whoa! They were all turned off and someone turned them back on. Sorry. Good Lord. My soul's voice is calling. It will not be stopped. Sorry. Sorry for any interruptions. So I just wanted us to land that. It's not like another freaking thing on your to-do list that you should take care of this body. It's like this is the temple. This is the way that your greatest gift comes through, and that greatest gift is so delicious. It's not just another way that your energy leaves. It's also a way that your energy is replenished. So I just want to land that. I want to land that.
Yeah, and that's been a big, I just want to add that for me, what I found is there's been this shift in my leadership of where am I receiving when I lead. And so it's not just about this energy output of what am I giving and how am I serving out there and then leaving myself behind. And so I'm just loving how you're talking about, like, and it's about us starting with, like, this is the temple for our leadership, and how do we take care of this? And for me, part of it has been around, like, receiving as well as giving, and so that I'm making sure that that cycle is, I'm getting replenished by my work.
Yes, exactly. So let me say, before we dive into this really important, awesome topic that is so dear to my heart, I don't know, you asked me to say a few words about myself for people who don't know who I am. And so I feel like I have discovered everything that's kind of innate and powerful about me. Rediscovered it. I don't know. I just really lost a lot in my early love was in dance, and so it gave me this incredible facility of working with the body, and yet a desire to transcend the body, be a different body type than mine, be thinner than mine, be a little bit more like an adolescent boy body, have an extreme control over my body. And so I just really didn't want anything to do with the feminine or the body. I didn't want to menstruate or have, ups and downs. I wanted to be incredibly productive and on all the time, which is a mantle that we all bear as women in a world that's really more suited. It's just it requires of us more masculine than feminine. And so discovering my body as not something to be transcended but to be embraced, or discovering feminine power as equally magical and powerful as masculine, has been very recent. In the last 5-7 years, there's been a real deep exploration. So, like a lot of us, it's a reclamation, and so happy the way I look at it is that women, we make up about 51% of the population, and if I look around, I see that women are probably, 9 out of 10 women are completely cut off from their feminine power source. It is there, it's just they're not in touch with it. And that's an incredible amount of energy and power that's missing from the world that really, really needs to be here. And so it's let me say this too, it is really it's been really sobering. I don't want to spend too much time on me, but over the last year, because has so easy to live more with a masculine energy of will and doing and productivity and being on all the time, that that is one of my Achilles heels. I'm always working on that, getting stronger as I go. But I spent the last year with some real heavy repercussions of being an overgiver and not having an exquisite sense of self-care, and getting quite deep into like physical exhaustion that then had me stop sleeping on a normal pattern, that had me get depressed in the days, really like spiraled into a real sense of self-doubt of myself and my message. My relationship suffered. And so it has been like ruthless, ruthless self-care of what it takes to remain the temple and, to remain a really juicy, lit up being for myself, but also for what I'm here to do in the world. So I come about this honestly. I didn't, prance in with it from early on, and so I'm really delighted to share it all with you.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. And what I just want to add to that, because I think this is to really emphasize this point, that if you're listening and you're someone who is experiencing a lot of self-doubt and like, what's my purpose, or am I doing this right, or am I ever gonna get better, or I'm not successful enough, or you're just depleted and just feeling the burnout of like, there's just so much to do, then this might be somewhere to look. It's not actually about figuring anything else out. We're already, as LiYana just said, we're already cut off. It's not about trying to figure more stuff out and have better plans, and it's not about the mental game. It's like the opportunity today is to drop into your body and really look at that. Self-care might be the self-care we're talking about is the thing that might be missing in your life.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
So let's talk about that. Like, what is the self-care? What does this look like? And what are some of the practices that you put in? I think you and I are both in that boat of, starting to drop into the body and not be so disconnected. Let's start there.
Yeah, that's a great topic. So let me talk about this concept that I feel like we'll all get intuitively. You'll feel it in your body, but just take a moment to articulate it, and then I'll say kind of like my number one self-care practice. And so the concept is, I really like this word, which is turn on. The concept is turn on, and I mean it in a lot of ways, like a light, which is or a light bulb, which is either turned off or turned on. Right, women who are embodied and really truly connected to their aliveness are completely like lights that are turned on. We literally radiate light, luminescence from our bodies and from our being. We sparkle. And I also mean it in the somewhat sensual, sexual sense, because when we're connected to that essence, we could even be celibate, but we could still be connected. Our creative, generative, sensual, sexual energy, and have it not blocked but running in our lives. That is also a way we are turned on rather than turned off. We are like life is making love to us. And so this phrase, I love it. I just feel like when a woman's turned on or whether she's turned off. And I don't mean it in the myopic sense of whether you're aroused by yourself or a partner in a sexual setting. That's fantastic, and you can use that as a reference, but it's like life. You are turned on by life and everything in it. Does that make sense? I know that I talk about turn on all the time. I want to make sure that's not a really weird, unarticulated concept.
No, I love it. And I like to use the analogy, especially in Sistership Circle, of the candle. And the light that's within us, and lighting that candle and then having that shine out there in the world, so that inner flame, that inner fire, that element, of fire. And I think that's exactly what you're talking about is the same thing as the turn on. I love it.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, okay, I got a bunch. So my number one self-care practice, and this has been really articulated in this last year of where there is an aspect of when you go into a state of imbalance, whether it's in the month or in the year. And for me, it was almost a year of trying to figure out why I was so in a sense of imbalance. I've been really kind of really healthy, I'd say, for like the last 9 months. So it's before that it was like a year where the feminine basically said, hey, just in case there was any doubt of the way you have been doing things, I'm going to remove all of it as options. So there's going to be a great stripping away and a great dark night of your soul. So there's no doubt that doesn't work anymore. Find something new, and first of all, understand why these things are no longer working, no longer serving you, so that you can build new pathways to what is. And what I did, and I was a very simple thing, simple to understand and still challenging to do, is that I am looking for how turned on am I today? How much did my choices yesterday or for the last little bit of time affect my aliveness, my joy, my sense of really being at peace in my body, feeling like that candle that is lit? Is that kind of like dipping down? All right, well then what choices did I make recently that I need to adjust? Is that kind of fully lit up and turned on? Then I'm on the right track. And so it's just that. I use the metric, the measuring stick of my turn on. And this, just to give you an example, so my child is 3. He'll be 3 in a month. And I have this impossible goal or standard in my head that says I should be spending every moment with him. I should be hovering over his crib when he's sleeping. I shouldn't sleep. And then every moment of the day, I should be fully present and with him. Now, I do strive all the time that I'm with him to be fully present and with him because that's really like where I feel like I'm being a good parent. But so that's kind of this really extreme super mom thing that's running in my head a little bit. And as I say, oh, I experimented yesterday with this amount of hours where his favorite babysitter was with him and I got to do work, self-care, etc. How lit up and turned on do I feel? How able am I to be present and amazing with him? It's doing great. All right, that was the right number of hours. The supermom in my head would say that was never the right amount of hours, right? But my body says yes. My body says, great, you're totally a turned on light. You can be extraordinary with him in the time that we do have. Or I could have had the experience like it was X number of hours at his play school or with his nanny or with someone else, etc., and I feel really depleted. Like I didn't get enough time. So then I go, maybe I need to give myself a little bit more time and trust that I've arranged an amazing environment for him that's really suited for him with people who can be really present with him or give him aspects of learning and etc. that I can't give to him, especially when I'm depleted, and really just measuring off of my how alive and turned on I feel. And that's like number one. So I mean I have some more practical advice, but let me just say that as number one. That's been an amazing practice for me.
I love that. And one thing I just want to add of my way of looking at that would be, this morning, for example, started doing something and just I felt myself contracting and getting upset. And so I had to really look at what am I doing right now, and I need to create some space. In the past, I would just keep going through it and just ignore that whatever tension was coming for me. And so I was like saved by the chiropractor, had an appointment, but then just took time after that instead of coming right back and getting right back into that. I've created something, a really powerful tool for you to kind of create a barometer, of turn on, and it's awesome. So yeah, I love it.
Beautiful, beautiful. So let me say one thing, and then I'd love to. We could do a practice that's really, yeah, really, really simple, but really useful. Is maybe I just feel like it could be good to speak to this question. I feel that this is really running, has been for me for years, and running so many women, is that really, though, if I take care of myself, isn't that then selfish? Isn't that, shouldn't I take care of other people first? Or really, though, I know I get points from, the goddess for self-care, but don't really I get more points for being super productive? And so I just want to presence that. And in a way, this is a swimming upstream in a culture that likes to overwork and likes to overgive, and it's a radical act to look at your self-care. So there's just two reframes I wanted to mention for this, in case anyone has that little voice of doubt going on, is that there is something that happens when a woman is in abundance with time and energy and juiciness, when her energy is in surplus, that it's almost like she's a well, and there's so much it spills over. She becomes incredibly generous. She becomes incredibly far-seeing. She becomes incredibly giving from fullness rather than running on fumes. So she becomes superpowers of being able to see more and give just the right amounts come online. And those things don't come online when you're giving from fumes, because we think, I'm self-caring, I'm putting all this attention on me, I'm getting selfish, and then what about the people I care about? And that is a misconception, because we're misunderstanding what is in our nature as women. Is that when we do care for ourselves and we're incredibly in abundance and surplus, that naturally benefits everyone around us and the people that we care about, because of what we're able to give, the quality of what we're able to give, what we're able to see, the connections between the two dots we're able to do. So it's actually very beneficial to everyone around you, and that it's quite beautiful to understand what comes online when a woman is really full, when a woman is really turned on, to use my phrase. So that's it. That's what I wanted to say about that.
I love that.
Yeah. I feel like that's really good to take a step back. And so this concept of turn on, it is absolutely not. It's a great concept. It's a great theory, but doesn't live as a theory. It's a very felt sense in your body, and it's going to be different for Tanya. It's going to be different for me. It's going to be different for every woman. And so I think this exercise that I'd love to lead you on is a great way to understand, what does your turn on, your yes, your no, your the definite of life energy feel like in your body, so that you can then use it as this guiding metric for your self-care. And if you remind me, Tanya, later, I'm happy to talk about the minutia of self-care, or what's some really cool things I'm getting mileage out of. But I feel like this is really a good thing to do first. Does that sound okay?
Perfect. I'm excited.
So in a moment, I want to have anybody who's trying this out, you're going to put your attention on your body. Now, you can do sort of a whole body scan, but I'm going to invite you to put your hands on your low belly, so the area below your belly button and above your pubic bone. And this is a very uniquely feminine part of your body. It's where most of your female reproductive organs, they're contained right under this belly. That's just kind of some anatomy. Now, from a perspective of some Eastern philosophy, the chakras, the energy centers that are under here, are for power, are for creativity, are for sex, right? And so this is a very feminine and very feminine power part of your body that has a lot of wisdom. So if we're speaking about turn on, this is kind of like turn on central. So If you feel more, you got two choices. You can, in a moment when you put your attention on your body, do whole body, or I prefer you put your attention on the area of your body, which is below your hands now, kind of below your low belly, inside your body in this lady parts area, below your belly button, above your pubic bone. So your choice. My preference is the latter. So just take a moment to be easy in your chair or wherever you're listening. Close your eyes or keep them open as you wish. But in a moment, you're going to be turning your attention sort of to the inside of your body, so closing your eyes can help with that. And just take one breath and just feel it. Feel the breath on the inside of your body as it kind of contracts and caresses and nourishes your body. And then take one breath, if you would, and imagine that you're taking your breath in through the base of your tailbone, actually, instead of in through your nose or your mouth. Imagine you're feeling the base of your tailbone and then this low belly area with that breath, and allowing it to exhale, just so that you're waking up this area a little bit with your breath. And allowing that to come easy, your breath to come easy, but still keeping your attention on the inside. And I would love if you would ask yourself a series of 3 questions that you already know the answer is yes to. So the first question, you ask yourself, is my name? And you ask your name. So for me, it would be, is my name LiYana? So I'm going to ask, you can ask out loud or in your head, is my name LiYana? So I know the answer is yes. And then I'm going to listen, pay attention to, watch, notice what sensations are in my body and where in my body I notice them. So ask yourself an answer. You ask yourself a question you know the answer is yes to, and then notice what sensations do you notice and where do you notice them. Sensations, I mean things like tingly or warm or cool or expanded or contracted or bubbly or very calm and still, in that realm. So notice what you notice. And then let's ask ourselves another question that you know the answer is yes to. Do I love the feeling of like my kiddo's little belly button? It's kind of soft and cute. The answer is yes, right? So please ask yourself a question you know the answer is yes to, something you love the smell of, the sound of, a person you love, an experience you love. And again, notice the sensations in your body and where in your body you notice them. And then last question, a question you know the answer is yes to. And then notice what sensations are there and where in your body you notice those sensations. And then take a moment to notice the similarities or the overlap between the sensations and where you notice the sensations with all 3 questions. So the common denominator of what you noticed. And now, for me, just to give you a sense, my yes in my body feels like, right? So this is how your body is saying yes. These sensations and where in your body that you are feeling this is the way that your body says yes. So we've just kind of decoded the language of the body, which is sensation. The ABCs of the language of the body are sensations. And the body communicates in terms of, full-blown sentences and sonnets. And that's through a little bit more complex desires, which we can talk about a little bit more. But the ABCs of your body communicating with you, your yes, are these sensations. So just to give you an example, my yes feels a little bit like, there's a little bit like an ignition that happens just below my belly button, and there's kind of like a little bit of a bubbly that comes up almost into my heart. So far, so good?
Yeah, I love this.
So let's do the converse. Now, we want to find your body's no as well, which is kind of another version of yes. You're just saying yes to something else, right? Right? We want to find this like definite in your body. This is the way that your body speaks about what is so true for you. So it's exactly as you did. We want to ask yourself a series of questions you know the answer is no to. So again, ask yourself a question. Is my name Dora the Explorer? No.
Mm-hmm.
So then again, just put your attention on your low belly or in your body and notice what sensations are there and and exactly where in your body that is. And a second question you know the answer is no to, and notice the sensations and where in your body you notice those sensations. And then a third, last question you know the answer is no to, and then notice the sensations you notice and where in your body you notice them. And then, as you did before, notice the overlap, the common denominator, because these sensations and exactly where in your body you feel them, this is your body's no. And for me, just to give you an example, my no feels like sort of like a almost lips going, like almost lips closing. So there's a contraction feeling and a downward motion. You're nodding. Is it similar for you, Tanya?
Yeah, same, I would say.
Yeah. How about your yes? Do you feel like you want to share that as well?
Almost like an expansion. It felt like an opening.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, this feels, this is like really super simple. It's one of those things like, yeah, that makes great sense. And how I think is so useful to use it is just to realize, your body can communicate with you. Your body absolutely can say, this is a yes for me. This is towards my turn on. This is towards my creativity and power. And this is not, right? So as you use this possibly as a metric, you use your turn on as a metric for your self-care, then you can also have a measuring sense of your body to go forward. So this is one of my favorite exercises to do this, to start to not ask your mind primarily, but ask your body as well.
So great. And yeah, I definitely felt that in my body, the difference, and just tuning in, and just felt really good to be able to tap into those sensations. And perhaps next we can do a little bit of minutia, like you said. What are some self-care practices, and not the ones that you have to spend a lot of money on.
Yes. So let me share some that feel really, that I'm getting a lot of mileage out of. And then if they're really specific to me and my body type, then maybe I'll speak a little bit about how to find what's specific to you and your body type. So minutia. So at the very bottom of a pyramid that is wellness for me is sleep. This is not the case for everybody. I do know that some people they don't need it as much as I do. But the things that cascade into real imbalance for me when I don't sleep are my mood, my resourcefulness, whether I think look and feel like $1,000,000 or whether I think I'm a loser. Like, it's very night and day. And so I safeguard my sleep a lot. And I say no to some gatherings and parties and opportunities so that I can have good sleep. Or if I know that it's going to be a late night, I kind of arrange things in and around it to care for the sleep or the aftercare. So sleep is really, really important for me, for this body. this is a little more of a macronutrient than a micronutrient, but I want to speak about a little about pleasure for a minute, and why this is important. And by pleasure, I mean whatever makes you feel good and has you feel relaxed and at home in your body. And that absolutely includes sexual pleasure, but includes pleasure that comes through all of the 5 and the 6 senses. It comes through what you eat, you smell, you taste, you touch, you hear, and also the information you gather through your 6th sense, which is your intuition. So that's just what I mean by pleasure. And that if I am a woman who's experiencing more richness coming in through my sensations and more, hence more pleasure, then I am more in my genius, and I am more confident, and I am more generous. And I'll just share a cool little amazing scientific connection between this, between your pleasure and all of those things. So there is a feedback mechanism between your pelvic nerve, which runs over the, kind of where you had your hands before, it runs from your spinal cord over the top of your pelvis, over your clitoris, and then it kind of branches off throughout your whole pelvis. So that when you experience pleasure in turn-on central, whether that's G-rated pleasure, like from walking in nature or touching your kid's belly button or inhaling something beautiful, or sensual sexual pleasure, whatever, you experience pleasure. It's relayed through the nerves in your pelvis. It gathers in your pelvic nerve, the main one, goes into your spinal cord. It is relayed through your spinal cord to your brain and releases a neurotransmitter called dopamine. And dopamine is like the ultimate feminine voice neurotransmitter chemical. Dopamine signifies confidence, and dopamine signifies like clarity of voice and responsible risk-taking and feeling like I know what I'm here to do and I know how to do it. And so one of my things that I do is like, am I feeling good? Am I feeling good in my body? Am I feeling pleasure? Because it directly translates to my sense of self and then what I'm able to put into the world. And so sleep is one of those things. Massage is one of those things that's really helpful for me. Sunshine and nature is one of those things. There's, vitamin D. Yes, there is something about getting in nature that I think, I have a friend who thinks it's because there's kind of a golden mean natural math in nature, and that our brain sees it as kind of like organizing and soothing to our brain. I think that's a fascinating concept. I'm not sure. Whether it's just fresh air, whether it's sunshine, or whether there's something about seeing fractal nature in trees that reminds us of our own nature, perhaps, which is really cool. So if I really, really can't get outside or it's crappy outside, sometimes I'll make a salad or chop vegetables just to be in nature. Somehow that helps even a little bit. Something that I think is a really important self-care practice is like self-pleasure. Somehow, if you don't have a partner, that you are invoking sensual sexual energy, and whether you're your lover or you're with a lover, that you are cultivating your sexual energy. And this is for a couple of reasons. It's because it's an area that can get depleted very quickly. It's an area that kind of like needs input. It doesn't always self-generate. And so we kind of need to give it a little push. We kind of need to have it be it doesn't go on manual. We kind of need to, it doesn't go on automatic. We need to put it on manual. So I suggest great self-pleasuring practices, or some really great slowed down love making. So not, especially if you have a partner or you're married or you've been with a partner for a while, that you can get into similar grooves, or you can have shorter sessions than you would like, and that's fine because life as it is, but just like to have some practices that allow you to really drop in. Very important. I'm all about green juice at the moment. And these are just vegetable juices, and green vegetable juices, because a glass full of carrot juice is actually a lot of sugar. And green vegetable juices is like I eat a lot of vegetables with all of their fiber and stuff intact, but green juice is incredibly alkalizing for the body and offsets stress. It offsets a diet that might be high in animal protein or things that are inflammatory to the body, or just the toxicity of our lives. No matter how careful we are, it's just a really great way to bring back some balance and reduce stress. So I'm really all about that. And I don't own a juicer. I plan to. I got the one I want to buy, but I do not have the points from the goddess for having a juicer, and I still managed to find green juice. So hopefully that will empower anyone else who doesn't.
I just got a juicer actually at a garage sale, and but I find that going and buying one is just so much easier.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. Next time I'll be able to geek out with you on juicers. The last thing I want to say is that I'm a hermit. I'm an introvert. Now I live consciously with another couple and their child. I have a very active community. I'm working with clients all the time, and I have a kid. And so my life is not structured. You would think that I'm very extroverted, that I get a lot of juice from interacting with other human beings, and I do to a certain point, but actually my recharging comes from time alone. And so one of my self-care practices is knowing that I'm an introvert, and now I know, my introvert batteries are draining. I really need, to go take care of that. And so, for example, tomorrow night, my husband's going to have a night with our kid, which is great, and I got no way to go read on my own and get a massage and just have some time where I don't hear anybody else's voice, literally and figuratively, and I can just be real simply with myself. So those are my specifics.
That's a huge one. I think a lot of, I think there's been a lot of books out recently and a lot of women speaking out about being an introvert, and I think this is really important that that it's okay, that there's nothing wrong with you, and that that there's at least I would say probably half the population is introverted, and just to really take care of yourself and giving yourself alone time. I need alone time to recharge my batteries, that's for sure. So that's huge.
Conversation with my husband last night about what it feels like to be on the receiving end of someone who is doing something out of obligation or because they kind of want to, they're just not really right with their own desire about it. They want to do it, but they feel like they don't deserve it, or they're doing it from depletion. It feels off. Then it has you feel, can I actually receive this? I don't know if I can just really trust what they're saying. And it was just beautiful to articulate that for those of us who are introverts and don't necessarily care for that, and then think that we can push through and actually have our message or our conversation with our partner or friends, whatever, actually be really powerful and received. It isn't actually received fabulously. That when we can care for ourselves in that really exquisite way, the je ne sais quoi, the power of what you are offering or giving is different. It's different. And that's a fabulous practice I'm always deepening into.
Love that. I want to add one self-care practice, and that is movement. And I think it's probably a big one for you too.
Yeah.
And this has been a huge one for me during my pregnancy, because the movement that I used to do before I was pregnant is no longer valid. It no longer feels good, and so I've had to adjust how I exercise. And I asked the question, what movement would feel really good for my body, and what's going to bring my mood up? And for me, during this pregnancy, it's been swimming. And that's my preferred method of exercise, and I can tell a huge difference between the days when I swim and the days that I don't. And so I really committed to myself during this pregnancy of, making sure I get enough rest and listening to my body and not over pushing myself, in exercise, but to make sure that I am getting daily movement. Just getting the blood flowing in my body is so important.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. And obviously, coming from dance, I have such a spiritual practice or a soul practice to be in the body, and so love that you presence that. And it's actually totally a joy. There's none of the angst left over. Totally a joy to be moving in the body. So thank you for that one too. Yeah.
Yeah, so as we're wrapping up here, you can find LiYana at LiYanaSilver.com. And anything else you want to share about, your coming to your website or anything else you got going on that women can tap into?
Oh, great, great. Yeah, I do invite you to go to that site. What we did there was part one of a short, well, actually it's long. It's a 5-part series, a video series. We did video 1. It's about 5 minutes, walk you through a practice and putting you in your zone of self-care, or as I call it, your zone of feminine genius. And so you've done number 1 with this understanding your yes and no of your body. So if you go on the website and you want to join that video training, it's my gift to you. It's a complimentary thing, but you just decide you want to join that, and then you kind of get my other practices on how to transform jealousy of other women into more of your own power. My favorite way to get more pleasure in your life, so some more exercises on turn on, and also some things about like really understanding the beliefs that we have about women and how to transform those into one that are very empowering. And so that's a great thing to do. To check out the website. It's really designed to meet you as a feminine being and give you some really small digestible tools to ramp it up in your being.
Oh, I love that. And you just redid your website. It's gorgeous.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it really I really wanted to have the experience, for someone to have the experience of coming on and feeling like this is what it feels like to be really in your body and be an embodied feminine leader. So hopefully I've done at least a little bit of that job that I set out for myself. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you have not, you're just stumbling upon this video and you haven't really dove into Sistership Circle, you could go to sistershipcircle.com, and there we still have for a limited time our virtual festival, and LiYana was one of our speakers on a panel, and so when you opt in, you get to visit the whole festival of hearing from different women leaders on feminine leadership and sexuality, and you even get to hear from some men on how to partner better with men. So it's just some really great content with a lot of incredible people, really, really inspiring, so you can head on over there. And so before we wrap up today, LiYana, anything you want to close with? Any last thought or reflection?
Well, let me say these 2 thoughts that came to mind at the beginning. This is a realization that I came to after climbing out of the dark night of my dark night of the soul, after being like extremely feeling the repercussion of not self-care, the opposite of self-care, is that that actually our resting pulse or your default setting as a woman actually is turned on. It is joy. It is you are emitting light and life. Now, yes, you go down. You have introverted times. You have, dark times when you're in a fertile void. Those are all meant to be. You do go up and down, but that it's easy to return to, or that you find yourself, your resting pulse, the place you come back to, is just joy and turn on. And if that isn't the case, it feels very hard to reach, at least some or most of the time, then you're in an imbalance. There's nothing wrong with you, either biochemically, spiritually, emotionally, something like an imbalance that's being asked to be worked out, right? Your resting pulse, who you are is turn on, is life itself.
Ooh,
yeah.
I love that. There's our tweetable. There's our quote for the session.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, LiYana, and thank you, everyone, for joining us here in the Goddess Temple, where we got to talk about each one of our individual temples. I
Mm.
hope that you can implement this beautiful practice from today so that you can really fill your cup up and really get connected with your pulse of joy, and really this is what it means to be a woman. So I'm really excited that we got to spend some time with you. And next week we will be talking about, we're going to be diving into orgasm and sexuality and sensuality and all the juice. So today felt like a little bit of a teaser for that.
Perfect.
So join us again next week, and Sierra Sullivan will be joining us then. So thank you, everyone. We enjoyed being with you today, and we'll see you next week.